Welcome everybody to WGSN-DB News Streaming Network. My show is called PJ the Bold Treasure Hunter, and we are all about turning trash to treasure. Today we're going to be talking about vintage Barbie dolls, and there's so much in the Barbie world to talk about that these are going to be the original Barbie dolls that started in 1959 to probably the mid-60s. But like I said, Barbie's world is so vast. Millions of Barbies have been sold, millions and millions have been sold. And there's so many types and styles, but we're going to just hone in on the most valuable, other than mistakes. We'll talk about the mistakes some other time. The most valuable vintage Barbie dolls out there. Okay, so with that, do I hear a knock at the door? Oh, who is it? Oh, I think it's Skipper. Hi, Skipper.
Hey, Barbie.
What have you got there today?
I've got a suitcase of Barbie outfits for us to look at today.
Oh, Barbie outfits in there? Oh my gosh, we're going to have so much fun, guys. Now, this is my granddaughter, Miss Sadie. And she's going to help me today talk to you about some of these Barbies, okay? And Barbie and Friends. So she's going to be handing me papers, and then I'm going to go over and show you a close-up of what I'm talking about. If I'm not holding up a doll or an item, she's going to go over to the camera about right over here and then show the paper like this. Okay, so with that, what we first want to talk about is how do you identify a number one Barbie doll? Why is that so important? Because the number one Barbie doll, if you're lucky to find her mint in box, then she's worth $15,000 to $20,000. Okay, that's really rare. But we do have a number one Barbie here. We have the blonde. And I'm going to show you how we know she's the number one. Now, she's not in her original box. She's been played with. So I'm going to estimate her value to be about $1,000. Okay, so one of the main things I want to talk to you guys about is how do you know it's a number one? Okay, her skin is paler than the other ones. The number two also has pale skin, but you know, it's like ivory color skin. And also, the irises of her eyes are almost like a white. They're not blue. They have no color to them. So anyways, okay, so I'm going to show you here that one of the key reasons to find or the ways to find the Barbie number one is her feet. When I remove her shoes, and by the way, her shoes have holes on the bottom, and there's a reason for that. When you would put her on a stand, she had copper in her feet, so she has holes in her feet with copper rods. Number two Barbie doll does not have that. So Sadie, I'm going to have you go hold this up right over here and show. That's great. Right there. Maybe back up a little. There we go. Great. So you can kind of see what I'm talking about with the holes of those feet. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so the next one is how to identify on the back of her, on her tush or buttocks on the right side, she has information. And it's going to say in Roman numerals 1958, and it's also going to say made in Japan. And Sadie, here you go. That's good. There you go. So you can kind of get an idea. There are also numbers on her buttocks, and you'll be able to identify what those are too. Now, throughout the 60s, they pretty much had the Roman numerals and 1958. Okay, so the next thing we're going to bring up, and we're going to bring up this again, is her labels. The vintage labels, the very first tags, labels for clothing. So if you can see this, the labels are black and white. Okay, so you're looking for black and white labeled clothing, and all the Mattel clothing had labels. So later on, they came out with pink, pink and white. And so the black and white is what we are looking for. Okay. So, okay, now moving on next, I am going to open up this suitcase and see what we have in here. Now, we had to tape this shut because of all times for it to not work was just now. Okay, so we have a lot of Barbie outfits we have put together. Some are complete and some are missing some of their accessories. Now, it's very important to have those accessories. And here's an example. This is the Barbie outfit during the 1960, 1959. It's called Evening Splendor. Now, each one of these outfits had a number. This was number 961. Now, if you can find her complete, there's the jacket. You can see the metallic gold. Everything in this, we have shoes, we have a handbag, we have a headband, we have coral necklaces and a bracelet. Okay, so this set, why it's so important to note these tiny little pieces is this set is worth $350 to $600. So that is why it's so important. And a little story I'll tell you is one time we did a job, an estate sale job, and I always tell people, let the estate sale company handle cleaning up. So this particular time, they wanted to rush things. So we started going through what I thought shouldn't have been thrown in the trash. And in the very bottom, what did I find? Barbie doll accessories that were very valuable. After I cleaned them up, pressed them, we ended up making additional 500. So, you know, that was well worth me going through the garbage, although I don't suggest people go through the garbage. I saw that the gentleman had thrown away some things that we could actually sell. Okay, so with that one, we've already talked about that. It's really important to note Barbie's shoes. They'll be marked Japan and a number. And the ones that for the original number 1 Barbie will have a hole in the sole. Okay, very good. All right, so next. All right, so I'm going to have Skipper go over and show you. This is what they call a reproduction, a 35th anniversary of the original Barbie doll. Okay, so she looks just like the number 1 Barbie doll, but you got to be careful because people are like, oh my God, I just found the number 1 Barbie doll. You got to be careful. They're making reproductions, replicas, and you'll be able to notice this one here because her bangs are different and she has more of a flesh color. She's not that ivory color. So that is not an original Barbie doll, even though the bathing suit is identical to the number 1 and the number 2 and on up. Okay. So the next thing I'm just going to mention is they came out with another Barbie, Barbie's friend. They say from Nebraska, the country bumpkin. That's where I'm from, so whatever. This is a picture of Ken and Midge. Now, I happen to have a Midge here. If I can find her, here she is. This is a Midge doll. And she's got freckles, and she's just the cutest little thing. And I think she was just, you know, one of Barbie's follow-along friends. So, yeah, I think that Midge didn't last very long, but just wanted to show you a Midge doll. Her value is not near as much as Barbie. Maybe $100. She's not worth that much. Okay, so now I want to talk to you a little bit about this here. This is a fashion queen Barbie doll. Now, believe it or not, honey, the fashion queen Barbie doll actually had no hair, just a molded head that you could add wigs to. Now, she is very hard to find. So if you find her, she's worth about $1,300. And your wigs would look something like this here. They would cover her head. These are old. You know, this is actually a kit that's very rare. It's called Barbie Salon. So you can see the wigs. That's what she has with her. So, okay, so Fashion Queen Barbie came out in 1962. Now we're going to talk a little bit about some of the other Barbies. Now, my sister had the ponytail Barbie. This is a ponytail Barbie wearing one of the pink gowns. I think it's called Enchanted Splendor, something like that. Enchanted something. But she has like a white mink coat and a necklace. Here's her little fur. So, okay, she's a number 2. She doesn't have the holes in her feet. So like we said, she's worth about $500. All right, then we had what you call the bubble cut head Barbie doll. This is what I had. My sister had the ponytail. I had the bubble cut. She is actually wearing a hard to find Barbie outfit, but I haven't been able to find the number on it yet. But I did find a picture of the jacket. So we got to do a little bit more research, but I'm sure that outfit's worth $300-400 with her shoes and whatever she came with. I believe she came with a black handbag right here because we found that in the Barbie suitcase. Speaking of suitcases, this is one of the smaller of the Barbie doll suitcases. I had a round one, and there was a larger one that was blue that had like clothes closets in them. They were pretty nifty. All right, so let's see what else we can talk about here. Ken. Okay, we got Ken here. Well, let's see. Hold on here. Okay. Here's Ken. I'll have Skipper hold that up for you. Just notice and kind of show them, honey, like the top of his head has fuzzy hair that's missing. He actually had fuzzy hair that came off. So that's why he looks blotchy. I don't know if you guys remember the Barbie game, but with the Barbie game, there was a good-looking Ken that you could win a date with, or there was Poindexter. Not trying to be discriminating, but when I got stuck with Poindexter, I was like, oh boy. Okay, so, but here was the dreamboat. Oh yeah, this was the guy here. Here we have Ken dressed as an airline pilot. And this outfit itself is worth $550. It comes with, the shoes, and he has a shirt, but he's not wearing a shirt. I just noticed that. So probably have that in the suitcase. And then we have the flight attendant Barbie, and she has her accessories. She has her bag, her black bag, and the American Airlines suitcase. So that too is worth $500. We have at least $6,000 worth of stuff on this table. So, or Barbie doll items. Something that help you guys through, and I'll have Skipper show you, is some of these little booklets that will help you to figure out what accessories go with the dress, because it'll show what shoes, what hat, what jewelry. And, every so often I find these at an estate sale. So they're a big help for finding and putting together your Barbie outfits. And I'm going to show you, like I said, this is full of them. All right, so next we're going to talk about Francie. Francie was Barbie's Maud cousin from England. So she is skinnier. I would say that they tried to model her after Twiggy, but they ended up coming up with a Twiggy doll. Mattel did. But Francie came out in about 66. I think I got one in 67. And here's another little picture of her face. So Francie is worth probably about $500, or this one here probably about $350. If you find her mint in the box, she's worth much more. Okay. All right, so now a little bit about, this is a Maud Francie outfit. And that is worth about $100 to $200. Now this one comes with a story. This is called the Miss Beauty contest. Miss Teenage Beauty. Okay, now this outfit complete sells for $1,200. I had this outfit. I found it in a doll case with other dolls, and I had everything except the bouquet of flowers, which she actually sold for $600 on eBay. But then I was like, darn, because if I would have had the bouquet, she would have sold for $800. Well, I said, oh well, I didn't find it, but then I did. I started going through the doll suitcase, and stuck in between some of the clothes was the bouquet of flowers. So I sent an email to the gal that bought the outfit on eBay, and she was tickled pink. She ended up buying it from me for $35 extra. So all is good. But I kind of wish that I had had that to begin with. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about, and I'll have Skipper come show you this doll closer. This is a twist and turn. So go show a little bit closer there. There we go. Twist and turn with bendable knees. This was the newest thing with Barbie. Her knees bent, and she actually turned at the waist. Like she could do lifts, you know, back in those days when you could do the twist. Yeah. So twist and turn, this was, you know, one of the photos of a twist and turn Barbie. So she's got usually the orange bow and everything. That was your twist and turn Barbie. Here is another picture of a twist and turn Barbie with the suitcase in the background. And the value again is about $500 with the suitcase. Okay, so I'm going to get some of my paper straightened out here and move on. Okay, so Skipper is going to talk or hold a picture up about Skipper. Okay, so Skipper, she actually is Barbie's little sister. Yes. Anyway, so Skipper is probably worth about $100. I only have some of her, let's see if I can find it here real quick, but I have some of her clothes, but I don't actually have a Skipper doll. So I'm just going to take a quick peek here, see if I can find it. And if not, we're going to just move on. Okay, so you know what? We're going to just move on with that because I do have her little outfit that she's wearing. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Some of the other things now, Barbie went crazy. When they came out with her, in the first year alone, they sold $300,000. Barbie. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the Barbie automobile or convertible. If you find one of these today, it's probably worth about $150. And Barbie and Ken would go strolling through the city with their convertible. Okay, next thing we can talk about is now the various Barbie dolls. There are so many, like I said, there's no way I could talk to you about all of them. They even had a life-size Barbie, almost as tall as you, Skipper. So yes, the life-size Barbie. She's probably about 4 foot tall. And I believe she came out in the late 80s or 90s. I'm not quite sure on that. It looks like maybe the 90s. Then we got into the holiday Barbies. Each one came out every Christmas. The first one, the 1988, now she's come down quite a ways in value. There was a time when the first one that came out in 1988 was worth like $500, but now probably like $100, unless you find one with a defect. And like I said, we'll talk about that some other time. People collect them. They're very meticulous with these dolls. Their boxes have to be in mint. There can't be a scratch. And if they're not in the box, they're not worth anything. So if you guys have a holiday Barbie and you're looking to get money for it, you're not going to get money for it unless it's mint in box or never removed from the box. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at some of the outfits. And I think we're going to call it a day on this one. Okay, so we have play ball, and I'll have Skipper hold these up. We have play ball, Ken, who's playing baseball. So it's his baseball outfit. We also have in here, I'll see if I can find it, the football one. It's Ken's football outfit. We have so many of these here. Oh, here we go. We have, this is not the Ken's football outfit, but this is a ballerina outfit. It is numbered 989. One of the original Barbie outfits has her slippers and her workout outfit. Even has a little thing, it says ballet company. So that's kind of neat. And we're kind of running short on time, so I'm going to show you a couple of these other outfits. Like I said, they're all numbered. This one's called Plantation Bell. All righty. This is, okay, here we go. Here's Ken's Touchdown. It's called Touchdown. And I'll have Skipper hold up some of the little accessories that went with the Ken. There's a helmet. And we even have a little football. And he's got all the necessities that he would wear, his uniform, and his shoes, his cleats. Everything is ready. Now, if you find this set, you probably get about $60 or $70 for it. Ken outfits aren't worth as much as Barbie's, but they're still unique. Let's see here, what other one I would like to talk to you about. Oh, okay, so this is like one of the first ones. This is Barbie as a nurse. That is number 991. And this one has almost all, it's got a hot water bottle, it's her reading glasses, her nurse's cap, and that one probably sells for $300 again. This one here is called Masquerade Party, looks for Halloween. So basically, that one will sell for a couple $100 as well. So, okay, I've already showed you as much as I can with the time that we have. And I want to show you this little thing over here. If Skipper can help me. This is the, the kit. I'll get on this side here. The kit for the flight attendant, Ken and Barbie. And it's got, where they made the food and everything, where the people sit. So I just wanted to show you, they came out with different little kits like the dream house and her dream apartment. Oh yeah, let's see if Barbie can sit down inside of there or see what they look like. Coming into the door, looks like a sailor man. That hat doesn't stay on very well. But yeah, there we go. Come on, let's go to Tahiti. I'm going with you. Anyways, so I always wanted to be a flight attendant, but I don't weigh 110 pounds, so that was that. But now they don't care. They don't care what size you are. All right, so with that, I'm out of time, but I wanted to tell you that after this, we're going to be talking about a 4th of July dessert. And I think I have the paper right here on that. Okay, so this is the dessert. And the recipe is very easy. It's just vanilla pudding, whipped cream, strawberries, and cut up 4th of July Twinkies. And you just layer them in a cup, but you'll see with the little video I've enclosed on this show. Okay, so till then, next time, happy treasure hunting! That's okay. Okay, now I'm in my kitchen. Not a very big kitchen, but you know, we've got the basics, so that's good. Okay, so this is a very simple dessert that you guys can make for 4th of July. It's quick. The kids will think it's fun. In fact, you can actually make it with the kids. I'm sure they'll appreciate it, you know, having some fun. So anyways, I already pre-made. This is vanilla pudding whipped with 2 cups of milk, and I've added a half of container of Cool Whip to that, folded it in, mixed it in. Okay, so that's that mixture. We'll call that the creamy mixture. Next, I have here some fresh strawberries. You can use frozen, but I like the fresh. And what I do is I think it's a quart. I think they're called quarts. It was like $4. Cut them up. I add about 3 tablespoons of sugar, a couple of squirts of lemon in there, just to give it a little tang. And then I let that sit for a half hour to an hour, and it gets nice and juicy. Okay. Then I have some jimmies and sprinkles and whipped cream. And I've already started cutting. These are Hostess Twinkie, red, white, and blue sponge cake with creamy filling. So it's got the fun red and blue on there. Okay, so I just take my scissors, which okay, here we go. And by the way, I have my hair back this time. It's like, yeah, nobody needs hair on their food. Okay, so you cut the Twinkie, and my scissors are clean. You just take it and cut it in pieces like this. Okay, so that's going to be your base. And then we have these handy dandy clear cups. So I'm going to add some of these pieces of Twinkie to the cup. You know, enough so that there's like a cake-like base. You put some of the fun colors on the outside. Okay, I got my base. Next, I'm going to use the strawberries. Maybe about that much strawberries. Look at that, it's already looking good. Then the next layer is cream. A couple of tablespoons of that. Okay, then after that, I think that we're going to add a couple more pieces of this if you would like. Otherwise, you can just go right for the strawberries again. So I put a couple more pieces on there. Top it with strawberries. Okay, so when you get that about like that, you can use smaller cups as well on that. But then I take this, shake my whipped cream up. Okay, and then on top of that, I take a couple of jimmies, put them on the top. Maybe a little sprinkles here. I know I've got red. Here we go. Kind of just lightly put that on top. And if you want, you can even take some of the juice and just kind of trickle it down the side. Now, I would think that this will make about 4 of these. But you see how easy this was? And just look at this. And I'm hungry. I have not eaten today. So I'm going to go ahead and try one of these lovely desserts. Love strawberries. Okay, guys, until next time, happy treasure hunting.